Hi, I'm Danza, I'm the developer of singletxswap.com, and I'd like to show you what the service is about. So, before I show you a demo, I'd like to talk a bit about what's the use case and explain how this works. So, in usual blockchain ecosystems, there are some NFT Discord groups where people like trading their NFTs. There are dedicated channels where people can send their NFTs and wait until someone contacts them with a trade offer. So in the end, there are two users, let's call them Alice and Bob, who want to swap some of their tokens. So they want to swap a basket of tokens for another basket of tokens. But of course, Alice and Bob do not trust each other, so they need some trustless escrow service to perform the swap. So that's what this is about. So how do we do it? As Ergo is a UTXO blockchain, it allows for the following solution. So the service builds a transaction that has inputs from both Alice and Bob. So in this case, there are 2 inputs from Alice and 3 inputs for Bob. So this transaction basically swaps some tokens of Alice and Bob. So for example, we can see that there's NFT1 here in Alice's input, but NFT1 is in Bob's output here. So they swapped NFT1, and besides that, they also swapped some other tokens, such as Ergo or other fungible tokens. So there's also one more output, which is the service fee, which is a small fee paid by both participants. So how can we submit this transaction? Because, of course, it needs to be signed first. So the transaction is sent to Alice, and Alice reviews the transaction. And if she agrees with the transaction, if she's okay with what she loses and what she gets, she signs her inputs. So it looks like this. So this is a partially signed transaction, which still cannot be submitted to the blockchain because Bob's signatures are missing, of course. So now the transaction is sent to Bob, and Bob reviews the transaction, and if he agrees with it, he also signs his inputs. So now the transaction is fully signed, and it can be submitted. What's good about this is that everything happens in a single transaction. So if the transaction fails, nothing happens, and people do not lose any funds. And if the transaction passes, then the swap happens. So let's look at the demo. So let's say Alice and Bob are communicating through Discord using some private chat, and they want to perform the swap. So Alice visits singletxswap.com and connects her wallet. So let's connect Alice. Okay, and now Alice pushes the Start Trading Session button, which takes her to a private trading room where she is asked to send this private link to Bob. So she goes to Discord and sends the link to Bob. Okay, so let's simulate Bob's screen now. So let's say Bob received the link from Alice, and he opens the web browser, and he pastes the link he got from Alice. Okay, so now he's in the trading room, but he's asked to connect his wallet first. So he does that. Let's connect Bob. Okay. And now he's asked to wait until Alice builds the transaction. So Bob is waiting, so let's see what Alice sees. So once Bob connected to the trading room, Alice is presented with the wallet contents of both herself and Bob. So her NFTs and fungible tokens are on the left side, right here, and right side is Bob's wallet. So what Alice does is she builds the transaction. She specifies the trade. So let's say she wants to swap this Gnonkin and this NFT, and also 5 Ergs and 1000 of MicroRank, and she wants to get this NFT and let's say 20 Ergold and 10 Kushtis in exchange. Okay, so she selected some tokens and specified amounts of fungible tokens, and now she pushes the swap button. So now the transaction is being built, and once the transaction is built, a wallet pop-up appears, and it's asking Alice to partially sign a transaction. So Alice carefully reviews the transaction, and if she agrees with it, she signs it. So this signs Alice's inputs, and then the transaction is sent to Bob, and Bob is asked to sign his inputs. So let's see. So Alice signed, and now Bob is presented with a valid pop-up too, and he is asked to review the transaction and sign it if he agrees with it. So let's say Bob agrees and finalizes the signing process, and now the transaction is being submitted. Bob is presented with a message that the transaction was submitted, and he can view it in the Explorer. He's waiting for confirmation. Let's see what Alice sees. Alice is also presented with this access message, and she can view it in the Explorer. So now they just need to wait for confirmation, and once the transaction is confirmed, the swap is done. So this was singletxswap.com. This is what I've been working on during the Ergo hack. So thanks for your attention.